Hi, I am Rhiannan McPhee, a project manager at Riverine Plains Farming Systems Group based in Mawela, New South Wales. And over the last 2 years, we've been working on a project through the Australian Government's National Landcare Program, the Smart Farm Small Grants. Over the last 2 years, we've looked at addressing soil constraints in the Riverine Plains region. So Southern New South Wales is where the two farms were located. So pH can be a pretty large soil constraint in our region, and understanding where that pH can change across the soil profile is really important. So this project has looked at soil testing, the benefits through incrementally sampling those soil tests, and understanding various interventions that we can make through incorporating lime and potentially other methods to address that issue. So very excited to be a part of this project and show you some of the outcomes.
Well, I guess the first step is to identify you've got a problem, and the only way to really do that is by soil testing. Your yield maps might indicate you've got a problem, but you're not going to know what it is until you do some soil testing. Ideally, that soil testing needs to be incremented and needs to be to depth, so that we know where the problem specifically is. So 0 to 5s, 5 to 10s, and then from there, maybe you can go to 10 to 20, 20 to 30, but just depending on getting some expert knowledge. The other thing that we need to understand is the CEC of the soil, so that we know how the buffering capacity of the soil for pH. The last thing we want to do is bring up a sodic layer to the surface if we're going to be incorporating.
So when you're understanding what your pH is in the soil, there's a few different ways that you can do that. We have a quick test, which Cassie's going to demonstrate in a second. And basically you can take a soil core out into the paddock, and once you've taken that core, you sprinkle on a solution and another activator, and that basically has a colour change effect where there might be a pH issue in the soil, and there's a little card. You can get those from Bunnings or speak to your agronomist, and they're quite easy to do just in the paddock to understand if you do potentially have an issue. Otherwise, you can get a contractor to come take some deep cores and segment them, or just some 0 to 10s and potentially segment them as well, and understand if you do have some issues. Our recommendation is to go a full 0 to 20 core and then cut that up into 5 centimetre increments, and then potentially do some 10 centimetre ones at 30 and 40, just to understand that whole profile and what might be going on there. The second site, the more clay site, we were lucky to partner with Wiesner's, and Lemken provided some machines. So we had a Reuben 10 and a Reuben 12, and we set those at a few different depths to see what they would look like. And we also tested a Kelly chain and some discs that the farmer had. So very grateful to our farmers, to some of their neighbours who'd lent some machines, and to our partner organisations for supporting us with the machines as well.
So planning, I guess, is the key to everything. Finding out what the problem is, understanding your constraints and your limitations, and then before we start doing anything, working out a solid plan. It might be that you need to apply lime, but this year is not suitable because it's too wet, too dry to do the incorporation. There's no problem with that. You can apply the lime still and incorporate it 1 or 2 years' time when conditions are ideal. I guess it's important to understand the machinery and what it's going to do for you, and how deep it can potentially go, but also whether you can adjust that. So some machines, as we learnt today, will go a lot deeper than others. So if deep incorporation is needed, you need a machine that's going to be able to go deep. If you're only going to do a shallow incorporation because you have a constraint at depth, then look at a different sort of machine. So I guess the conditions, as we've also seen today, things are fairly dry and are probably on borderline as to whether you would continue, because it's bringing up, making the soil quite cloddy and unconsolidated. So you need to also plan that. You need to plan ahead in terms of what crop you're going to put in next year, because things like canola that are small seeded are not going to be suitable for a very clay seed bed. So as we saw today, Michael's going to go with favour beans with the larger seed, which is probably a safer bet. I guess finally, if you do think that you might have a sodicity problem and you might be bringing it to the surface, because as we know, soils are not uniform, then probably a good practice is to consider applying some gypsum at about half a tonne a hectare just on the surface after the incorporation. That'll also give you a bit of a sulphur benefit for down the track.
At Riverine Plains, we're very grateful to our funding organisations for allowing us to do this kind of work. So the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry through their National Landcare Program, and the GRDC, who have supported us to deliver this kind of research into our region and provide that on-the-ground support to our farmers to potentially take up some of these practices that might be new to some of our farmers. No-till is quite a big thing that we promote, but sometimes incorporating lime is what's needed in the soil. So it's important to plan and take those soil tests and really understand your patch and what's going on underneath the ground that could potentially affect the following crops that you're going to grow into the future. So having that conversation with your agronomist or your soil specialist is really important to then plan a long-term program to ensure that you're going to be able to continue to produce good quality crops into the future. So my one recommendation would be find out what's happening in your soil.